All right, I want to talk to you about skills here for 1 second, because something that I'm getting a lot of right now are from agents. So now I'm going to switch gears for you, but I want you to understand this is fully transferable. I'm going to talk about buyer representation conversations, but they're the same conversations if you're out recruiting agents. They're the same conversations that you're going to have with your recruiting prospects. And that is, how do you show the receipts to a buyer so that they will buy from you? There are a lot of agents out there, but the saying is you can't swing a cat, right? And I'm not sure that it's all that different now than it was, other than in today's world, you have to have a presentation. About a year ago, all the listing agents are the ones that were negotiating buyers' fees, remember? And whatever the listing agent was capable of getting, if it was a 5%, well, I guess I got a discounted fee, right? If it was 6%, oh, at least I got a bigger fee. And then all of a sudden there were people that were like, well, I'm going to get 5%. As a listing agent, I'm going to take 3%. I'm going to pay 2%. And then what happened on August 17th was that decoupling. Suddenly now buyer's agents are having to have conversations that listing agents used to have. What I found is that they fell into basically two categories, two groups. The first one was they avoid the conversation altogether, hoping not to get caught, because I don't know if anybody knew, but it's the law that you have to have the conversation. And then they worked the magic, showed the properties, went around, did all of the stuff. Please, 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 please do not leave me. And then they had the buyer sign a buyer representation agreement at the time that they purchased and sale area. So that was group number one. The second group was that they awkwardly presented the buyer representation agreement or some type of I'll call it a workaround, like it's the showing agreement. You know all what I'm talking about. I feel like everybody I talk to has got some kind of a one-page document that says that I'm going to show you property and says that you would pay me, but it doesn't really say it, but it satisfies the rules, right? But it fails to clarify the relationships. That seems to me like what most of the people that I'm talking to are doing. Here are the solutions that I have. All right, number one is you got to have a story. And what I'm talking about is a buyer representation agreement. But the representation agreement has to be in a story form. These are the 8 things that all buyers ask. It's the story. So this is the process, and here's step 1, and here's what we do. And ultimately, it's a natural progression to what I get. It's the same thing. I know we don't like talking about cars so much when we talk about real estate salespeople, but here's what I'll say. The bottom line is that when you go to a car dealership, like, the cars are a different price. We know that they're a different price. I suspect that when a buyer comes to a real estate agent broker, they also know that there are different levels of real estate brokers and there's a different price. This is where they go through and they show you everything about the car, and then they get you in the car. And now all of a sudden you're like, okay, I get it. I get now why the Mercedes is the 100 and the Ford is 50. Number 2, explain the contracts involved in the real estate transaction. So what are the contracts that are involved in a real estate transaction? You have a listing agreement, right? That's a contract. What does a listing agreement do? The listing agreement defines the relationship between an agent and the seller. There are duties. The agent will do all of these things, and they act on behalf of the seller. Then the second one is there's a buyer representation that says, hey, listen, as the buyer's agent, here's how I'm going to work for the buyer, right? So now both parties are represented. And then the third is a purchase and sale agreement, right? So there's 3 contracts. Number 1 spells out the relationship and duties owed to the seller by the representative. Number 2 spells out the relationship and duties owed to the buyer by the representative. And number 3 spells out the details of the purchase and sale between buyer and seller. And if we just simply walked people through that, I think they would understand a lot better, right? You can't just do one and expect the other. You got to do both. You got to have a story. You got to have a presentation. This is what this is all about. And then I got to explain to you what the 3 contracts are. It's a natural close, right? Nobody ever wanted to be the party that was like, everybody else has got an advantage on me. I'm toast. That's not it. Also, nobody ever wanted to sign an agreement that they didn't understand the benefit of them signing. And instead, what happens is agents, what they're trying to do is they're trying to help the buyer understand that what's in their best interest is to hire a true professional that has the skills, knowledge, and experience, the wisdom to be able to help them get exactly what it is that they say that they want. See, they benefit by hiring us. This is not about the money. It's about the value, but we missed it. Number one, have a story. Number two, explain the contracts. And then number three, you got to close. Real estate professionals, you and I both know 87% of the licensees don't make it in this business. Don't worry, I don't have anything to sell you here, but what I do want to do is I want to impact your life. I want to change your life. In order for you to be the top of the top, you're going to need to do some things different. And one of those things is to become part of the Sales Warrior community. Subscribe below, it's free. And so what I want to talk to you about is I love this, right? So my son is doing door-to-door sales right now for a pest control company. It is the funniest thing ever. Right? I never in a million years thought he would ever do this, but I'm telling you, I talk to him every day, multiple times a day. He's got some of the funniest stories, and I love that he's getting his ass kicked. I love it. I'm a good dad, I promise you. But my point is that like you want your kids to learn these lessons, and you want them to be just painful enough for them to learn the lessons, but not as painful as they were for you. And that's what he's doing right now. And I'm telling you, I could not be happier. I could not be more proud. One of the things that we're having these conversations are about price. And I thought I'd bring some of those conversations to you guys today, because your agents are having the same conversations. And this was the other part to this whole, like, I can't get them to sign a buyer representation agreement. So we went through it. And then of course they said, okay, well, if I did that, but you know, I can't get over 2%. What do I do if somebody else is just offering a co-op fee at nothing? And what do I do here? And then this one, I can get it cheaper. Love this. This is one of my favorites, okay? Because we get it all the time. We get it all the time. So here I am, I'm gonna represent you. Here's why, here's the story, here's the contracts, all good. Yes, well, yeah, sort of, yeah. But look, I love it. That's fantastic. But Paige said that she would do it for less. And here's the script. Are you ready? 100%. There are plenty of folks that are out there that will do it for cheaper. In fact, I've got a list of a few other agents that I'm happy to share with you, other agents and companies, and they'll do it for cheap. But can I ask you a question? Why haven't you hired one of those agents that will do it for cheaper? This is where role playing is so critical, because you can read this stuff, but then you don't understand the pause moment. And the pause moment is very important. Take a breath, let it land, and they will think about it. And what will happen is they will start selling you on why they didn't choose the agent that would do it cheaper. And then you follow it up with this. Why do you think that more than 100, 500, whatever, 1,000, however many people that have done a transaction with you, if they're new into the business, then they use the companies, right? So let's say your company's at 1,000. Why do you think that more than 1,000 customers purchased using one of our agents, even though they knew that there were cheaper options out there? Put this into a recruiting framework. There's always somebody out there that'll do it cheaper. But once they've answered the question, well, it's probably because you're full service, and probably because you do this, and probably because you have a team, and probably because of your brand, probably because you have the price premium. You're exactly right. So may I ask a question? Are you looking for the cheapest solution, or are you looking for the best service? Remember, people are looking for the best product and service that they can afford. They just need to be sold on the value. Option two on that deal would just be like, if somebody said that, somebody else will do it cheaper. Oh yeah, of course. Like, we don't compete on price, we compete on service. Were you looking for the best service or the cheapest price? And the third one I'll give you as a objection handler on that is probably one of my favorites, and that is the pause, the look. Is this a test? And you wait, and they're like, what do you mean? Well, certainly the agent that you choose to have negotiate on your behalf the best terms and best price for your property, if I couldn't negotiate on my own behalf, I most certainly couldn't negotiate on your behalf. And so I just thought maybe this was a test.